Last month I posted a video called Misandry. Now, if you thought that I had nothing more to say about misandry, then you are sorely mistaken. I am not done by a long shot. Now, this particular video is going to be about
Misandry, the hatred of men.
In particular, I want to focus on the mistrust of men in today's society. Now, I want to start things off by talking about one of my own personal experiences with misandry. Now, I've briefly mentioned this in my first misandry video, but here I want to expand upon it further. Now, I work as a math tutor, and there have been a few instances where a mother would request a female tutor for her daughter. Now, naturally, I got offended at that because I don't see what the gender of the tutor has to do with anything. I mentioned this to somebody. I asked them, why would she request a female tutor? What difference does it make? Why not a male tutor? And the response that he gave me baffled me. He said, she is just being protective. When you are a parent, you will understand. Wait, what? I'm sorry, but
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
his response raises so many questions. But first of all, I have to address something. Thanks for making a flat-out assumption that I'm going to be a parent. I hate it when people do that. Besides, if me being a parent means that I'm going to understand sexism against my own gender, then that just gives me yet another reason not to be a parent. Secondly, I guess I never will understand. I don't understand how requesting a female tutor is going to be any safer. Especially since men are usually the protectors of women. They are women's unpaid bodyguards. Besides, what do you need protection from at a tutoring session? And what if the female tutor schedule doesn't work with yours? Or what if the best available tutor was male? Would it be better to have a female tutor who may not be as good or experienced, or a male tutor who is? I find it very insulting that the request wasn't for the tutor with the most experience or the tutor with a flexible schedule. No, they wanted female tutors. Obviously, these people do not find men as trustworthy as women. I don't know why. We are all tutors working at the same place, and if you haven't met any of us yet, who are you to decide who's trustworthy and who's not? For all you know, we could have a female tutor there who can't be trusted. You see, this is what is known as prejudice. I was prejudged based on my gender and not as an individual. I was branded as someone who isn't as trustworthy based on a factor that is beyond my control. The fact of the matter is, in the eyes of many people in today's society, men can't be trusted because they might be pedophiles or rapists. And this is one of the main reasons you don't see too many male teachers, especially at the elementary school level. You'd have an easier time finding a needle in a haystack. If a woman says, I love working with kids, the reaction would typically be, oh, that's fantastic, then you'll love being a teacher. But if a man said the very same thing, the reaction would be more like,
Why don't you come on in and have a seat real quick?
It's a real shame that the entire male gender gets a bad reputation because of the actions of a tiny minority of men. This type of mistrust can be seen elsewhere as well. Case in point, look at British Airways. Last year, they were sued because of a sexist policy that prevented male passengers from sitting next to a child that they don't know, even if the parents of the child are on the same flight. It's still not allowed. This policy is clearly sexist because it brands all men as sex offenders and pedophiles. And this policy does not apply to women whatsoever. Again, the mentality is that all men are always guilty and all women are always innocent. In accordance with this policy, cabin crew would patrol the aisles before takeoff to make sure that any child traveling on their own or in a different row from their parents are not sitting next to a male stranger. If a man is found sitting next to a child, he would be asked to move to a different seat or the plane will not take off. Sounds like he is being forced to move, not asked. It's automatically a crime just to be male. Now, one man by the name of Mirko Fisher was on a British Airways flight with his wife who was 6 months pregnant, and she booked the window seat because she thought it would be more spacious. Mirko was in the middle seat between his wife and a 12-year-old boy. Of course, a flight attendant came over and asked him to change his seat. Mirko refused and explained that his wife was pregnant, at which point the flight attendant raised his voice, causing several passengers to turn around in alarm. He warned him that the aircraft could not take off unless he obeyed. So he eventually moved seats, but felt so humiliated by his treatment that he took the airline to court on the grounds of sex discrimination. So he went through with his lawsuit and won. And to Mirko Fisher, I just have to say, a job well done. And this is what Mirko had to say. He said that the policy and the treatment of male passengers is absolutely outrageous, and I could not agree with him more. A plane is a public place. Cabin crew regularly walk down the aisles, and passengers are sat so close to each other that the risk of any abuse is virtually zero. Furthermore, statistically, children are far more likely to be abused by a member of their family. Does that mean that British Airways is going to ban children sitting next to their own parents? I was made to feel like a criminal in front of other passengers. It was totally humiliating. Neither myself nor my wife dared to speak to the boy in case the cabin crew forced us from our seats. The poor child must have thought we were extremely rude and unfriendly. I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm glad he won his lawsuit, but that policy should have never existed in the first place. So those were just a few examples of misandry, and I haven't even begun to scratch the surface yet. There is still a lot more to talk about on this subject. I plan to talk about misandry in the media, as well as violence against men, so be sure to stay tuned for those videos.